Hello and welcome to Romancy Readers Podcast. My name is Nicole and I'm here with the lovely Alley, and we have a very exciting House of Flame and Shadow episode for you today. We are spilling the tea. We are coming to you with all the news. We've just gone, let's do something different this episode. Let's go into all the theories that have been out there, all the stories we're seeing on Instagram, on Reddit, on the news. We're all wanting to find out what is next. What did we get from House of Flame and Shadow? When are we getting the next book? Why did SJM have that coffee catch up with Margot Robbie? Like, we've got to talk about this. We have to bring it to this podcast, and that is what we're doing today. What are you thinking, Allie?
I'm so excited to talk about this. I went on so many different wormholes on the internet in preparation for this podcast. I cannot even tell you. Like, it's what I do. I love to take a bath. This is probably like too much information about me. But
I'm obsessed with taking a bath.
I love a bath. I take a bath.
I love it.
Like, I kind of take a bath every night. Like, because I only wash my hair once a week. Curly hair problems. So I just take a bath every night just to like relax, unwind. And I usually read in the bath. And this week, all I've been doing, it's honestly where I like get my best like ideas for the podcast.
Exactly.
And, and theories and things like that. I just like all I've done all week in the bath is research things for this episode.
The bubbles going. Yeah. I'm saying, literally, this is my e-reader and it's waterproof, right? It's a waterproof e-reader. This was very important because I love reading in the bath, and I will destroy my real copies of books if I read them in the bath. So this is my little gem. I love it. It's my me time. I relax. I forget about being a mom.
You need it. You have 3 kids. I don't have anything. I just have a cat, and she doesn't really ever pay attention
to have
to
a bath.
Me,
I have to like
my me time.
Exactly. I just have to remove all the bath toys and everything out of the bath first and try and turn it into a nice environment. Yeah, that's the life being a mum. But we get there. We do what we can.
Yeah. So have you been reading anything this week before we dive in?
Well, I am reading the sequel, Kingdom of Claw, that we just interviewed Demi Winters, who is freaking amazing, guys. She's so amazing. I felt like I was interviewing Sarah J Maas before she got famous. Like, she is so smart, and just her writing is next level. And I was obsessed with her first book, so I've been so excited to read her second. I'm about 3/4 of the way through, so I'm like at almost, the last 150 pages. So it's getting really good now. Really, really good. I'm going to have some late nights.
I told you that book was like 4.5, 5 stars for me. Like, it was really, really good. Like, I really liked the first book, but this second book was like next level.
Yeah.
It's so great. I feel like we're developing, like friend of the podcast, Demi Winters, and friend of the podcast, Emberly Ash.
Just know these people personally. I was like, oh yeah, I just spoke to them in the DMs just recently. Oh my God. Can I talk quickly about, I just shared this on my Instagram, but like I did this little reel about reading Butcher and Blackbird. And, I was just having fun. Honestly, I filmed this video with me like eating the ice cream and spitting it out. And I showed it to my 13-year-old daughter, and she was like, Mom, that's so gross. And so then I was like, oh, maybe it's too much. And I sat on it for a few days, and I was like, oh, do I post this or not? Anyway, eventually I was like, you know what? I'm just going to post it. See what happens. And then it's done really well, which is amazing. Thanks, guys. And then Bryn Weaver, like, she liked it and shared it. And then she followed me. And I was just like, oh my God. Oh, my Bookstagram dreams are coming true. It's just like, so
we're going to get so famous, and but
we're going to have SJM on speed dial.
But we're still going to fangirl. That's the thing, is like, I feel like even if I was super famous, I would still just be fangirling all the time over authors. Like, I would be like, oh my God, you know who I am.
Exactly. I'd probably just start crying when I meet them. I'd just be like, I'm so happy I met you. You made Rowan, and I love Rowan, and
that is so exciting. That's very important news to share. I feel like we've stopped sharing like some of our exciting things from Bookstagram, and we should really bring that back in.
Exactly. It's you gotta celebrate these moments. I'll probably be in some kind of Instagram abyss in 6 months' time. So let's just enjoy this little ride while it's here.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Exactly.
But, so that's what I've been reading. How about you? What have you been reading this week?
I am so excited to tell you about this book. It's so good.
Mhm.
So it comes out on March 22nd. So I think by the time this podcast airs, it will be out. But it's called Avalon Tower.
Mhm.
I'm still in my King Arthur era, okay? I just like I I'm just really
Can't let
vibing
it
with the
go,
King
can't let
Arthur
it go.
book. I can't. Okay. So, I have an ARC, an advanced reader copy. And it's set in the modern day world, but in this world, the Fae are actually so far the bad guys.
Okay.
And there's this like spy academy that's made up of like this a human and demi-Fae or half Fae alliance, and they're fighting the Fae. Okay.
Okay.
And but like they like live on Avalon, so they're kind of like hiding in this like secret place that nobody knows about. So like it's this modern girl who's getting thrown back to like where there isn't technology, and it's like because it's like King Arthur's old castle,
Ooh.
and they're fighting the Fae and the MMC. Whew, he's a good MMC.
Oh,
So it's yeah, I'm so excited about it. It's called Avalon Tower.
love it.
Comes out March 22nd, but it's really, really good. And it honestly, it feels a lot like Fourth Wing
I
because
was gonna
it's got
say, when you were talking about
yeah,
it sounds like Fourth Wing. I was like which is actually
yeah,
amazing because we haven't had like, people have come to me and they've read Fourth Wing and they've said, "What else should I read?" And I'm there going, "Oh, there's not much out there that's similar to Fourth Wing."
that's
'Cause,
in that kind of way.
SJM is very different. She's a very different style
Mhm.
of writer. So trying to recommend that as an alternative isn't really the same kind of writing. So that's really interesting. That
Yeah.
sounds like I'm gonna have to add it to my TBR
Yeah,
pile.
yeah, and she has
And
class she has to go to classes. She
yeah.
has, like, the entitled enemy that, like, is, like, super good, but she ends up being able to best, which we all love.
Mhm.
So it felt a lot like Fourth Wing, but it's Fae, and there are dragons. So that's exciting. So, yeah, like,
Ooh,
it's
we
pretty
are
good. It's pretty exciting.
this is exciting.
And the
Okay.
FMC is a little bit older. She's 26.
I love
So
that. So
no,
one my
I
one
I really
frustration
need
with
my
Fourth
FMC
Wing
ages to get older.
like one frustration I have with Fourth Wing is that they're so young. Like they're 20 and 23, 24. And when you're trying to fan cast, all the actors are older
Yeah,
and they're so much older. And you're just sort of like, oh, and even in my head, like when I think of Zayden, I think of him as about a 30-year-old. He's just like, I
yeah,
don't know, 24-year-old boys are still pretty boyish. They're still pretty
they're
young.
not very
Whereas I
hot, yeah,
perceive him as a man.
yeah,
And so to me, he's more like 30. So I love that they're obviously a little bit older.
yeah,
Is there
sh
any
the
shadow powers? Any
yes, they have
No
not
comment.
no, 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 I'm trying to, like the answer is, like, there is a power that is kind of like shadows, but it's not shadows. It's like healing magic, but it has the same effect as the shadows,
Ooh,
but it's healing, which is pretty cool. So,
okay.
yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
Okay, this
check it
sounds
out when it
interesting.
comes out.
So,
Yeah.
have you finished it or are you still reading?
No, I stayed up so late last night reading it. I was up till, like, 1:30,
That's a good
and I got yeah, that like, I was gonna stay up later, and I was like, I just gotta go to bed." Because I got to, like, the 90% part, and it had kinda hit, like, a nice, like, little conclusion, and I was like, "I know if I keep reading, I will have to finish it." Like, I know that
Yeah,
the last
yeah.
10% I'll have to finish. So, I'm excited. Either tonight I might not get to be able to tonight, but tomorrow, I'm going on I have a 9-hour flight. I have 2 back-to-back 9-hour flights.
Going
So I'm gonna take
overseas on
yeah.
holidays.
Yes. Actually not on holiday for work, but, it will still be fun. But yeah, I'm excited, I'll read that. I'm gonna finally start Kingdom of the Wicked. So, next time we
Yes!
record, I'm gonna
Woo!
have read, like, 18 books because I've been on
Oh my
so many
gosh.
flights.
I love it. I love it. So
Yeah,
what would you rate so far okay, you haven't finished it, but based
yeah,
on so far, what would you rate this book out of 5 stars?
it's, like, at a 4-star right now for me.
Okay. Okay, that's
The ending
solid,
always
solid.
has a big impact, right, on
Mhm.
the
Whether
rating,
that will
but as
bump it up just that little bit
whether that
further.
will bump it up or bump it down, right, if it ends on, like, it weirdly or something, but right now, trending towards 4 stars.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, so we're gonna get into the news now. So new segment. We are doing the news. We are spilling the tea. So some
yeah.
huge news has been coming out in the last week or so about Sarah J Maas, about House of Flame and Shadow, and we want to talk about it. So the first thing is that there was a picture that was released online about Margot Robbie having a coffee catch up with someone that looked extremely similar to Sarah J. Maas. So, what are your thoughts on this first, Allie?
It's totally her. It
Yeah.
has to be her, right? When I saw that, I was losing my mind. I was like, "Oh my god." And I am really excited because this is one of the wormholes I went down,
Mhm.
which we'll get to in just a second, but I went down a wormhole on Margot Robbie's production company,
Yes.
because I didn't know a ton about it. There's some good signs there. But before we go there, like, what did
Yeah.
you think about it?
Well, look, first of all, I looked at it. I looked at her bright shoes, which remind me of Bryce's, her hair color. It looked like Sarah J. Maas. For me, there
It
was no
really did.
questions about it. And she's wearing the same top that she wore in that Bryce Hunt interview about 6 months ago. The same top. So I'm just like
It's her.
97% likely that this is Sarah J. Maas. But it got further confirmed later on in the day. First of
Mhm.
all, we had Papa Mass like this image, which I think is really interesting. Think about the
And
fact that
significant.
exactly, he has always spilt the gossip.
The
Like
tea. Yep,
when
yep.
they released it, they were going to do it with Hulu. He was the one that he released it on his Instagram. I don't know. They love to muck around like that. So I
As,
think
like,
that's
an
like,
accident. Like, it got
yeah,
released, and who
accident.
knows if it was an accident. Yeah, we're like, ugh. But he, like, posted a picture, like, "Morning
His
coffee,"
sandwich.
just, like, posting his sandwich or something, yeah, and then in the background was, like, the script or whatever. It was,
Yeah.
like, ACOTAR TV show or something like
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
that's
No,
how it
I'm
got
just like, yeah,
released,
that's
like,
totally staged. I'm like, there is no way
that's
that was an
totally yeah,
accidental photo.
no, no. But, like, yeah, so he definitely has been used before in this way, so he could be used this
Exactly.
time. Mhm,
Yes. So
mhm.
then the Instagrammer, I'm trying to think of the name of them. They're the one that like releases a heap of like news and everything about Sarah J. Maas, but they confirmed later in the day that they had spoken to Sarah J. Maas's people. How they have the contacts to Sarah J. Maas's people, I would love to know because I want those contacts, right? I want those
Yeah,
contacts. But
yeah.
they had her come back. Sarah J. Maas herself came back and confirmed that it was a real photo. That really did transpire. That was her talking to Margot Robbie.
And they
I want
didn't
to
say
be
anything about why, right? They were just like, "Yep,
no,
she was talking to Margot Robbie."
no, no. But oh my God, I want to be a fly on the wall. I want to hear that conversation. Some people are like,
Mhm.
oh, maybe they were just having a general conversation. They're just friends and they're catching up. I was like, no freaking way were they just catching up. I'm sorry, but you wouldn't be Margot Robbie and Sarah J. Maas and just be like, oh, hey, let's just have like a nice social catch up. It's like, if I was Margot Robbie, I'd be like, here is like the world's one of the best current female authors in the world. People are going nuts for her books. And I have this whole production company that's just sitting here doing nothing that
Mhm.
loves to do movies and things about strong female characters. Like, you're not going to
And
like
not
look
only
into that.
that, there it's the middle of, like, award season for Margot Robbie when this has been posted. We're post award season now, but when they theoretically met up, that's, like, right smack in the middle of award season where Margot is having to get glammed up and go to the Oscars and the Emmys and the Golden Globes, like, over and over again. She's not just gonna socially catch up with a friend in that time.
Yeah, yeah. At
She's
a
doing
very
work.
public, like,
Yeah.
cafe.
No.
If
No.
anything, I just think they're
Yeah.
there to, like, finalize details or something. Like, they're there to,
Mhm.
like, "Let's just
Mhm.
finalize. We've already had all our secret meetings behind closed doors, and this is us now releasing it to the world that, yep, this is a soft launch to be like, we are doing something together."
I can also tell you with 100% certainty that if people like Margot Robbie don't want photos of them posted to the internet, that will be what happens,
Yeah.
right? Like, yes, like, it got leaked as, like, "Oh, like, somebody in the coffee shop just took a picture and posted it," but I'm telling you, like, they have a lot of ways to make sure that doesn't happen, and they did
Yes.
not do that, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So
And for Sarah J. Maas to be there with someone as beautiful as Margot, who just envisages like the perfection that is like Aelin
okay.
and Feyre.
Yeah.
Exactly. She looks like a Fae. Like, how would you not be like, please be a lead character in one of my
Yeah.
movies. Like, please just bring it to life and just play. You can have anyone. Which one would you like? You can be all of them. We don't care. We'll just put different wigs on you. We're gonna make it work.
ACOTAR, but everyone's played by Margot Robbie, including Tamlin.
Margot Robbie, Henry
I would
Cavill.
watch it.
There you go.
I would watch it. Truly, I would watch it.
100%. 100%.
So let me tell you about the results of my wormhole.
Yes.
I knew that Margot Robbie had a production company, and I knew that it was pretty successful, but I just didn't know as much. So just for listeners who don't know this, Lucky Chap Entertainment is a production company that she started with her husband and another friend. They produced Barbie. So, Margot Robbie is, the narrative of the day and the word on the street is that like Barbie only happened because of her intense involvement in the production of the movie, being a very, very hands-on producer. They did Barbie. Her production company did Saltburn. They did Promising Young Woman. They've done a number of TV shows. And they're kind of like the it girl of the industry right now
Oh, yeah.
because of the success of Barbie.
And
She had
Saltburn.
and
And,
Saltburn. Yeah, both of them. Right, right. And it made a ton of money, but it was a risk, right? It was a movie that people did not think would do well, and it did both commercially very well, but also critically very well. It's won a ton of awards.
yeah.
So she's just kind of riding that right now. But let me tell you a little bit about kind of what their stated mission is, which is to produce great stories with women at the center of them. And this is a quote from her in they like Variety magazine and Vogue did like a big profile on her. I think this is from the Vogue article.
Okay.
She said about her industry, or about her production company, we want to make more films that has the effect that Barbie has. Why can't it be another big, original, bold idea where we get an amazing filmmaker, a big budget to play with, and the trust of a huge conglomerate behind them to go and really play? I want to do that.
Aw,
And
amazing.
yes, that quote just made me so excited because if they took the Barbie idea, right? Let's give it a lot of money. Let's give it a filmmaker that's going to really have a vision, protect the people who are the creatives, give them the money they need to do it. And we applied that to ACOTAR. I really truly think that ACOTAR could be a
I
huge hit.
Yeah. Look, it's gold what you're sitting on right there. Like these books already have a huge following. It's the biggest thing right now is you need someone to do it justice. Our biggest fear right now is that someone's going to come in, change it, make it kind of B grade and just do a horrible job of it. And I think the big risk with ACOTAR too is transferring that to the screen will be challenging because I know that there are parts of it that when you read it, it's totally fine. But if you put it on screen, it may come across just,
Even just, wings,
yeah,
right? Like that is going to be tough.
exactly. It needs a lot of money put on it. It needs a lot of talent behind it. You need really good actors, really good writing, amazing special effects. I actually feel like if Margot Robbie's involved, I actually feel a lot more comfortable because everything she has
Mhm.
created lately has been absolute gold. Like just
Yeah.
such high quality from Saltburn, Barbie, even I, Tonya, even Promising
Yeah.
Young Woman. Everything that they do, they've done with quality. They've got the story across. Have just nailed the casting, things like that. So I feel a lot more comfortable about this than I did about when just Hulu had it, and sort of just like, oh,
Yeah.
are they going to be able to bring it? Like Outlander was pretty good. Hopefully that'll be okay. But I think there was still a lot of complications with it. I think that yeah, and I just know, I think the kind of personality that Margot is as well, I can see her and Sarah J Maas just getting along like a house on fire and just working together so collaboratively to bring this
Yes.
beautiful thing to life. Because you've got to be passionate about it. The thing I've heard is that Margot actually loves reading. Hopefully she loves romantasy. We don't know officially, but how can you not? But with
How
such
can you not?
powerful, strong female characters, I can't see how she wouldn't be all over this like a hot rash and going, I want to create this. This needs to
Well,
come.
and if she's trying to be, like the next generation producer that picks up stories centered around women, which is what she says she's trying to do, ACOTAR is like a great place to do that. I mean, because not only do you have the ACOTAR series that's hugely popular, but you have all of the IP spinoff already done for you, right? I mean, with the Massverse. So it seems like I can't believe more producers aren't like all over it. Honestly, that's what we've all been saying for so long. Is like, why are people not wanting to make this? Like, why is it so hard? And some of the rumors, who knows what's really true, right? But there were rumors when like a couple months ago that Hulu and Sarah J Maas were having like really strong like creative issues, and I could just see Margot being the type of producer that's like, look, Sarah J Maas has created this fandom that buys stuff that's into what she does. We need to trust her. We need to trust her vision and really giving SJM the creative license that she so clearly wants. And I'll tell you, the other thing that I did not know is that Lucky Chap Entertainment has a great relationship with Hulu. They've produced two pretty big shows for them. So a show called Dollface and a show called, which Margot herself produced, and then a show called Mike, or like a documentary about Mike Tyson or something. So that's good. They have a good relationship with Netflix, and they just signed a first look deal with Warner Brothers for all of their movies. So this means that every single movie that Warner Brothers has options to or wants to produce, her production company gets first rights if they want to produce it or not.
Wow.
So that is like Warner Brothers putting a ton of trust in them. And again, I don't know if like it would be a TV show or a movie, and like, but it's just like it's showing the power that her production company has right now.
Well, I kind of hope with these changes, I'm actually kind of hoping they make movies out of them. I feel like maybe that is what ACOTAR needs to be. I feel like we went through that period where TV shows were amazing. You know, the HBO, Game of Thrones, well, until the last season, that is. We had some really high quality, high caliber TV shows. But in the last couple of years, I feel like that's really dropped off. I would be terrified if this was being done by Netflix, because they just, or any of those other ones,
Any of those
Amazon,
fantasy
Prime,
books that they've tried to adapt have
they
been
just
awful.
they make them awful. They destroy them. They don't, I don't think they have any genuine passion or love. Horrible casting. Even if they have a ton of money, they still seem to do a terrible job at them. I think they just kind of rush them and bang them out and don't take time to go, how do we make sure this has the quality? So I actually just hope that Margot Robbie just owns this and just turns them into movies and just gives them the absolute love and TLC that they need to, as they do a Lord of the Rings, basically. Create it like Lord of the Rings. And what I love is I know Sarah J Maas will want that. I think Sarah J Maas has been intentionally difficult because she is like, these are my babies. I am not happy unless they're of the caliber of, Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I want it to be that level where they're timeless, where they don't date. You do the fantasy, but you do it well. And it has, that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I hope so too. I really do. And I'm hoping we get something about that meeting and what the purpose was soon, because I just am dying. But I mean, what a freaking swing if Margot Robbie was like, all right, off of the success of Barbie, guess what I'm doing next? ACOTAR. Like, people would lose their minds.
And that's why I can't believe it hasn't been done sooner, because it's like the fandom, and even like real news is actually starting to realize this obsession with romantasy. Like, it's not just us and us little bookstagrammers and TikTokers that are into it now. It's out on real, newspapers and that they're saying there's like 30 million people that are into romantasy. There is like this obsession with ACOTAR and everything. So it's like, guys, money. Like, there's money here. Money to be
There is
had.
a lot of money here. I would go see an ACOTAR movie like 8 times in theaters, and I would buy all the merchandise. I would buy the popcorn bucket. I would buy, I mean, I would be all into
Even
it.
if it was B grade, I still would. I'd be there
I mean,
crying.
I
I'd
still
be
would,
there
yeah.
like Twilight, where like when I went for Twilight, like seriously, guys, there's such bad movies, right? But I still went and I still absorbed it and loved it. And I just had my rosy colored glasses on. I was like, it's the best. I love it so much. And my husband's like, that was the worst movie ever. He was like, what kind of acting is that? Like the
Oh my God. I know. They were so bad.
I
They were
love
so
how
bad.
now there's a whole like there's a whole group of people that now actually make fun of these movies. Like, they have all the memes and everything about all the moments in
Mhm.
that movie that are just so ridiculous. It's like now,
Yeah,
what, 10,
yeah,
15 years later, they're finally getting onto it. But I don't want them to do that to our beautiful books. I really want them to make them like Lord of the Rings. That is what I want, and
yeah.
that is what I
I
hope
do
we
too.
get.
I
Yeah,
know. I really hope so. And okay, it wouldn't be an episode if I didn't talk about Taylor Swift.
of
But
course.
I feel like Taylor Swift has affected the economy, right? And I do feel like people are watching what she does as an indicator of how consumers are willing to spend their money. And the unique thing about Taylor Swift is she has captured this audience that spans generations, right? You're the 40-year-old moms all the way down to the 10-year-old kids want to go and see Taylor Swift and buy her movies and buy her albums and buy all the merchandise. And I think that ACOTAR could be the same thing. Maybe not
100%.
10-year-olds, but
No,
like you
18 and
have
up.
the like older women, but you also have the teenagers, right? Like whereas Twilight, something like Twilight didn't capture like
No, no, it was
older women,
very teenage, young adult. Well, I
Yeah.
think what's interesting about what Taylor Swift is doing, and this is something even I didn't realize, I've kind of learned it more through you, but the way she's drip feeding things out to her fans
Yes.
and how she puts all these hints and Easter eggs. And this is the world we live in today. This is what people love. They love the Easter eggs to figure things out. And Sarah J. Maas is all over this as well. She is laying Easter eggs all through her books, all through her interviews. This is all Easter egg laying. And I think, as you said, I think Taylor has definitely started something that creates almost hysteria. Let's be honest. It
Yeah.
creates hysteria in people
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
obsession and keeps us
But
going
it
with
also
stuff.
makes a lot of money.
It
I
does.
mean, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, it makes a ton of money.
It does, and it
And
also makes us extremely happy. Let's be honest. As
yeah, right,
fans,
right.
I want Sarah J. Maas to give me little hints every month. Every month I just want to, guess what? I'm announcing this. Guess what? I'm just dropping a bonus scene for you. Like,
This,
yay!
like, idea of constant relevance, right? Like,
Exactly.
that's
It keeps
what
you
we want.
engaged. Whereas
Mhm.
I think the old thing of leaving it for a year or two before you get your next book, that disengages you. And in the world we live in now, you never know when the next big author is going to come out and take all our interest. So you need to keep your fans engaged.
Yeah.
And
It's like the idea of overexposure is really not like, I do feel like people used to talk about overexposure for celebrities and like, "Oh, they've been in the news too much," and like, like but that doesn't I just don't think that's relevant in this
well,
day and
it's
age. Like, we want this
no.
constant we don't care about overexposure for the things that we love.
Yeah, well, I think about like 10, 15 years ago, you had all your trashy magazines that would be always trying to snap photos of famous people and get involved in their real life. And that was how we tried to stay engaged with the famous people that we wanted to follow. Now, those people like Taylor Swift have changed the game and they've
They
gone, no,
come
I'm going
directly
to
to us.
control this narrative. I'm going to
Yep.
do it myself. And I'm going to give people the content that they want, but in the way I want to deliver it. And it's more focused on rather than their personal life so much, they're focused a little bit more on their work, on their creativity. And because they give it to us that way, we don't go seeking it from, I guess you'd say, more unhealthy ways of getting
Mhm.
photographs of them when they don't really want to have those photographs taken.
Right. Right.
Um,
And that's why, like, I genuinely believe that that picture, if it wasn't intentionally, like, leaked, like, that was not just an accident,
no.
like, Margot and Sarah wanted that out there. Papa Swift, Papa Mass was primed to go and like it, like, um, they're pulling a page out of Taylor Swift's book, and I'm here for it. I want it. I want, like, once a month, I wanna know what's going on.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so exciting. All right, have you got any last things to say about this before we move on to our next little bit of our segment?
No,
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 all good.
I
All right,
just am
guys.
excited.
Well, we will keep you updated. If we get more information, we will definitely bring it here. We'll be sharing it on our Instagrams, but let's just wait and find out. What do you guys think? Let us know. But I do believe that Margot Robbie is going to be producing at least some of Sarah J. Maas's work, if not the whole thing. But
I think so too. Yeah.
we're just gonna have to wait and see. All right. So the next thing we wanted to talk about was House of Flame and Shadow. And I think talk about the fact that everyone now has really been out reading this book. Most people on Bookstagram, TikTok, they've read it now. And there have been some pretty interesting feelings about this book. Let's be honest. The truth has been, most people have not been that happy with this book. It's one of Sarah J. Maas's lowest rated books now on Goodreads. It's only, it's like, the fourth lowest or something, I think. Have you had a look, Allie?
No, I haven't, but I can look that
I
up
think
right
it's like
now really
rated like
quickly.
4.3 or something like that, but it's on the lower side. Like only, it's like next to I think ACOTAR and, the prequel and things like that. So it's definitely not a popular book. And I think there's just been a lot of feelings about that from people, about why that is, about how people have responded to the book and what that might mean for the next book. Was this intentional from Sarah J. Maas, or was it just poor writing? So I wanted to bring you here today to discuss. Allie, how are you going? Have you had a look?
Yeah, I looked, and it is definitely, if not the lowest, one of the, like, 3 lowest. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, the only one that was below it was, Court of Frost and Starlight, which, like, makes sense, that one
it's a
was, like,
novella.
yeah, yeah, but it was definitely, I think the only thing I saw that was lower than it was actually Throne of Glass, which is interesting.
Well,
Like, the
is it
first
such an
Throne of Glass.
entry book? That's
It's
what I
such an
mean.
entry
I
book,
think
yeah, but for this to be
only
the 3rd book in a sequel and be this poorly rated, that says something,
it's
yeah.
crazy. Yeah. So what are your thoughts? Why do you think this
Yeah, I
book is
mean,
rated so low for people?
I finished it. I've been finished with it now for over a month. So when I first read it, I was like, I really hate it.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it and I was like, no, I think it just didn't meet my expectations. And so if I take away those expectations, it's still like a 5-star book. Like that was what I've said that on this podcast. But now the longer I sit with it, the more I'm like, is it really a 5-star book? Like maybe I don't think it's like 3 stars, but I don't know. There are things about it that aren't good. There is some bad writing, and some of that is interesting because some of that is like characteristic of this whole series. Like some of the things that I really got frustrated about in House of Flame and Shadow are things that happened in other series, right? Or not
Yeah.
in other series, in other books in this series. Like Bryce just kind of like knowing information that even the readers don't know and like isn't foreshadowed at all. Like that really annoys me. That happened in this book, but it also happened in the first two. So I'm like, okay, how do I, like that's just kind of a style choice here.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
exactly.
not for
Like
me,
for
but
me,
it's
yeah.
intentional.
This has never been my favorite series, even though it was the very first book I read. And look, I quite enjoyed Crescent City 1. I did not enjoy Crescent City 2 at all. That was just such a drag for me. And then this one, look, I found it better because I generally found it relatively entertaining. Like lots
Mhm.
happened. We got lots of answers to everything. But for some reason, it didn't feel very satisfying. I felt like that ending happened way too quickly. The Asteri just got defeated really easily when really they're more than 15,000 years old. They're like timeless and they just kind of get killed in
Yeah.
10 days, and it was really all just a little bit too easy. And while
Yeah.
I have theories as to why that is the case, why Sarah J. Maas potentially wanted to wrap everything up so she could now focus on her next books, which I'm very forgiving of, because at this point I do want to close off the Crescent City
I
chapter
just want
and
to be
just,
done with it. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, I'm done with this. Let's get on to other books because they're better. But you have this fear. I think you have this fear. I mean, part of me, and this is terrible, right? Because I'm a mum of 3 kids. So I know the challenges of being a mum and also trying to have a profession. But has she written many good books since having kids? Um, it's it's a really hard question to ask. Has she possibly, dare I suggest, lost her edge? Maybe it's not her
Mhm.
biggest priority anymore. Um, I like to think this isn't the case. I like to think that a lot of this is by design and that there's a lot more that she's holding on for her future books. And look, she did give us Silver Flame. She has given us Silver Flame, and I think that was a sensational book. Um, but the Crescent Cities haven't been good. For me, they haven't been good.
Yeah.
What are your
And
thoughts?
that is definitely, you're not the only person that I've heard that narrative or that question from. I've heard that all over Bookstagram, is people kind of wondering like what's happened, has she struggled, right? Not 'cause that she lost it, but maybe just that like it's hard
Yeah,
when you're
it is.
raising
Look,
tiny humans to
I
let your
can't lie.
brain
I
wander
mean,
into fantasy worlds.
in my job outside of podcasting, I can't say I'm quite to the same level I was pre-kids. Like, I'm still pretty good. I'm probably at about 80%, but I'm probably 80%, not 100%,
Well, and it's
because
probably a lot different now that your kids aren't like 2 and 3,
yeah,
which
exactly.
how
My
old
kids
her
are a
kids
bit
are.
older.
Her
I've
kids
got
are
like 13, 12. Sorry, I've got 14, 12, and 7. So mine are getting a little bit older now, hence I can do podcasts and things because they're at school and things.
Yeah,
But when you've
yeah.
got them really little, I mean, they're your world. They're your number one focus.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you just don't want that to be taking away from the quality of the writing, do you? Like,
yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, it's like it's super hard at this point to know whether things were intentional and they just maybe didn't she just didn't land them, right? That could be a thing. Like she tried something with the Crescent City series and it just didn't have the same magic that other series had. Um or it just kind of, I don't know, was it bad writing? Was it there's definitely a lot of people online who think that she had bad writing. And some of the things that I've heard, I don't know what you've heard, some of them ring true for me. Like, the idea that we get all of the exposition, the important exposition for the book in just like a monologue, soliloquy, basically, not even a
mhm,
monologue, a soliloquy over like 3 chapters. I mean, it's like 30 pages of just like Celine talking. That's
mhm,
not in a lot of like, according to a lot of standards, that would not be good, right? That would be
yeah.
telling versus showing, which you're not supposed to do. There might have been better ways that she could weave that stuff in. But at the same time, I'm like, it was, I don't know, maybe it was good to just dump it all at once.
I
I
know.
don't know. It's really
Maybe
hard
that's
to
where those other 400 pages that like we're like, "Where did those 400 pages go?" Because
yeah.
apparently this book was like 1,200 pages and she had to
Yeah.
scrap it all. Maybe that was some of it. Maybe they did go on in more of a journey to get that information.
Yeah.
I Look, I think Sarah is in a really complicated situation where she has created this massive world and now she has to try and deliver it. And some parts
Mhm.
it's like, "Oh, I just have to get this out there so I can get to the next part of the story." Um it's complicated because I can I'm hoping it's all part of a bigger design. That is the truth. I hope it's all part of a bigger design and I can be forgiving of those things. I hope she's not There's always that fear with really successful authors that they get to a point where they're so successful that no one tells them no anymore. No one gives them real
Mhm.
feedback to say that is not good quality. Like you need to change that up because that's not working. That they got all these people around them that are just yes people, and then you start to see things drop off. That's what happened to Game of Thrones. By season 7 and 8, they thought they were nothing could hurt them. They were like, we create gold. Everything we do is gold. It doesn't matter about the quality anymore. And they completely lost the plot. They were
Mhm.
just like, oh, we're just doing this just because, and we haven't even thought of all the loopholes and things that creates. But surely Sarah J. Maas isn't like that. She is the queen. She has given us so much. I cannot believe that would be what has happened in this situation. Um,
But if it has, right, let's talk about the things that maybe are the result of either someone not saying no or her not seeing it, right? And again, we can have all the hope, but I think it's important to acknowledge like the things that aren't working for us.
mhm.
One of the things that's really not working for me in this book is the different storylines just being totally shunted, right? Like the dragon with
Yep.
I can't remember her name right now.
Ariadne.
Ariadne, right? The Fender heir, basically all of Therion's like character development. Lydia and Rune, like you're not supposed to introduce characters that don't serve a purpose. What purpose did the dragon serve? If any, like none so far.
Yeah.
Ariadne has served no purpose.
Yeah.
Uh Therion sucked. And he did not suck in other books. I mean, honestly, it was like he was a completely different character.
Mhm.
Um, like Rune and Lydia did not get like the story that they were supposed to get. The Fender heir, I kind of get where she went with it as like a foil for Ethan to get him, as a catalyst to get him to be prime. But like there were other ways to do that without introducing another character that we had to keep track of.
Mhm.
So, I do think if we take this at like face value and say, like, there's not some grander plan.
Mhm.
There are some things that are not good.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Look, I'm so deep in the grand plan that I listen to all that and I go, "Oh, no, 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 no." I'm like, "They are all there with intention." I think the
Yeah,
problem
yeah,
is, though, is that if there is this bigger intention, like she's got this whole plan that all this is gonna be important for Twilight of the Gods, and she's keeping all this secret because she wants to explode it on us all in the next book. She still probably could have left a few more Easter eggs. I think that's probably my biggest flaw,
yeah,
is that I think she was too secretive and she's kept too much too close to her chest. And I think she's kind of thought people might figure it out. And there's just not enough clues there for people to really figure it out and see what the future might hold. And hence, people have just come out of it extremely confused and going, "What was the point of that? What was the point of that?" And we just,
yeah.
obviously, with no answers, we're just ridiculously disappointed. So, I think that is the problem. Had she laid a few more Easter eggs, had she kind of
Mhm.
suggested, "Oh, there's more to this person than like, oh, there might be more story here," um, that might have gotten people a little bit more excited about the purpose. There is no way that she has introduced Ariadne, that she has introduced Lydia with her firepower. They they've all got purpose. I don't know about Tharian so much. He's probably one that I'm a bit like, I don't know, like he's has been very much just an annoying side character and I don't really see his relevance, but certainly some of those characters I think will be very important in future books.
Yeah.
But
And I 100% agree with you, and that doesn't necessarily make this book good.
no, that's probably the problem, isn't it?
That's
She's
the issue.
given us
Yeah.
this book and she hasn't wrapped it up enough in this book that people come away from it relatively satisfied.
Mhm.
And not like unsatisfied because we didn't get a happy ending. As a matter of fact, we got the opposite. We got a happy ending. It just sucked and we didn't like it. Like we were just
Yeah.
like, how can
Well,
that
and
be
it
the
was
ending?
just anticlimactic. It
Mm,
really, like, the ending, one of the things that I have always, like, waxed on and on about to people, maybe who criticize, because 'cause I've been an SJM fan from for a very long time. Like, I
yeah.
was reading her stuff before she was super popular, and she was criticized all the time for, like, "Oh, she just writes romance," and I have always been like, you should go and read her battle scenes. They are so good. The
Yeah.
final battle scene in ACOTAR is, like, perfection. It is so
Yeah.
good. There's so much going on. The stakes
Throne of
are high.
Glass as
The
well.
Throne of
Like,
Glass Kingdom of
oh,
Ash battle scene, so good,
yep.
and I just feel like we didn't get that here. Like,
No, this
we
felt a
didn't get
bit.
her best battle scene writing.
No, and I get that it's more intergalactic and therefore, I mean, obviously with those books, she was able to look more at history and traditional wars and bring that in with some magic and stuff thrown in. But this was more of a intergalactic kind of battle. But it just, yeah, the battle scene was bad. It was bad. It wasn't, I
And
don't know what. I think for me, she was just wrapping it all up. Those stupid mech suits just have annoyed me from the beginning. They're so
from the
pointless.
get-go.
Ugh.
Mech suits are just like they just like that just cut
Mech
that out,
suits, Thunderbirds, like, why would you name it Thunderbirds? Like, all I get
Also,
is that.
the
Yeah?
Thunderbirds didn't serve a huge purpose, like, other than kind of foreshadowing what that hunt was kind of like the second round of creation,
Yeah.
but that could have happened without having the Sophie Emile
Exactly, that's why
storyline. We
to
didn't even
me, the
need
whole
that
second
storyline
book.
did nothing.
Yeah,
Emile
that is
did nothing.
no, that is why the whole second book, I hated it. I hated the second book. I hated the second book more than the third one because it was a whole book about these stupid Thunderbirds. It didn't give us anything. It was all just filler
Mhm.
story. It was just story for the sake of story. I couldn't understand the bigger relevance of it all. It was only the last 100 pages that got really good. At
Yep.
least in this book, we did finally get some answers to things that we'd thought about
Yeah.
the whole time, and I could take that satisfaction of those moments.
Mhm.
But yeah, where they delivered well, not really. We didn't even get a good Rune and Lydia intimate scene. Like it should have been about 4 pages longer. That should have been significant, especially because I think she very intentionally made Bryce and Hunt's scenes not very good. And I actually think it would have been nice to have seen the contrast of the intensity of the mating spice scene between Rune and Lydia.
To
Um,
show us what a mate bond
the
looks like in the
difference.
Crescent City world, right? To either
Exactly.
confirm or deny whatever. Um Yeah. And actually, what you said something that really
Resonate?
resonated with me with it, which is filler story.
Yeah.
And I almost it feels like, and again, you and I have this like huge, we've talked endlessly about what we think is going on in the future, but it somewhat feels like all of Crescent City was just like a filler series to get us to
Yep.
what she really wanted to write. And if
Yep.
that's true, then like absolutely got it. Great. Love it. But you still have to
Should it
make the
have
book
been
like,
a little bit more enjoyable for the readers? Should it have
yeah.
potentially it cou
And
you
maybe
know
like just pare it back, make it this filler thing, introduce the critical components and leave it there. That's the other thing is like I feel like she was just doing too much.
Mhm.
There were too many point of views, I'll be honest. Like sometimes you'd have up to 4 different point of views in a single chapter.
Yeah.
Um and I love multi-point of view. I really do. I love switching. I just think there was
I
too
was
many.
I was exhausted. I was
Yeah.
exhausted by the end of reading this book, and I needed to go read
Mhm.
something much more simple at the end. Like, I was in
Yeah.
physical pain, and since this book, we are in a group of about 10 women who are really, really intelligent, right? There's a doctor, there's one studying an MBA, there's us, obviously, like we're intelligent. Yeah.
We're probably like the lower end of the
Yeah,
of the
a
group.
few others, and we're dissecting these books. And look, I mean,
Yeah.
on one hand, I love it. I love that you get a sentence and it's got 3 different meanings, and you can pull out one sentence and be like, it's like being in Year 12 literature. You're pulling them apart and trying to understand what the underlying meaning might be. That's great. But it is so ridiculously complicated. For your everyday reader, how on earth are you going to pick up on those complexities? That's great for your
And
real critical thinking readers, but
and are those complexities even intentional? I
yes.
mean, like it's fun for us whether they're intentional or not to do that because we just like doing that kind of stuff, so it's fine. But like sometimes I wonder, I'm like, is this really what she was, like if that's the case, then like how in the world would anyone would most people
I know.
understand this?
I
Yeah.
kinda come away and I'm like, what did Sarah wanna get out of this book? What does she want her readers to come out of this book feeling?
Yeah. And
What was
what
her
else?
Yeah, go
Oh,
for
go
it.
ahead. Sorry. Okay, I was gonna say what else is like because of the point of views, it really messed up the pacing for me. For me,
Mhm.
the pacing of a book is something that I care a lot about, right? Like that you kind of start it slow, it's hard to get into. By the time you get to, 50%, you're like, "Oh, I'm really invested. I know who these characters are." You get to 75%, it's like, "Boom, I can't stop reading." Right? That's how it should be. That's what a romantasy book is. It's like the last 75%, you're like, "Okay, the conflict has started. I got to finish." By adding these like super boring storylines in between, it like messed up with my sense of like how the book was progressing because like
Yes.
I'd get really into something and then boom we'd go to Therian and I would slow down reading. I wouldn't be able to get through it and then I'd stop and then it'd be a day or for me not a day but a couple hours and then I come back. And like in true Sarah J Maas fashion, the last little bit of the book was amazing. Once like the gang is all together, and once Rune kills the Autumn King, it kind of just like is boom, boom, boom from there. But before that, I don't know. It was just like
Oh,
start and stop and start and stop.
when I first read this, I read the first 25 chapters and I was just like, whoa. I was like, look what Sarah J. Maas
My
has
mind
done
was
to us.
blown.
We're
Yeah.
not just going to get like the last epic 100 pages. We're going to get a whole book of epicness. Like we finished, like by the end of chapter 25, my brain was exploding. I was just like, what? And then it came to a grinding halt, an absolute grinding halt. She spends like 3 chapters just living with the Autumn King with cuffs on, like,
I
and then and then there's Darian and there's Ethan, and it really just, I don't, for me, it was very painful to come back to this very ordinary Crescent City world. And then it slowly ramped up over time and kind of got to the, I guess, interesting action scenes, but it was still very in Crescent City world. So I was still somewhat disappointed because I wanted it to be ACOTAR. I wanted all the planets, I wanted everyone to come together, Throne of Glass as well. We had those epic mass first kind of expectations, which I do think we're going to get in future books, but But even without those expectations, it still could have been so much better. I think there was possibly, you know, the fact that she wrote this in 5 weeks, maybe that did show that it was a bit rushed and wasn't maybe her best work. Hopefully she learns from that and has some massive changes for the next one. I still have full faith that this is hopefully by intention and
Yeah.
that this is all just prequel leading up to the real books and what they are. It's the slowest slow burn known to man, and it's also why I want to believe that we're actually going to get the next book in the not too distant future, because I don't think she can leave us in this place. If she leaves us here for too long, people may actually start dropping off liking Sarah J Maas. They might start being like, oh, maybe she's not that good anymore. Maybe I won't read her books. I think she needs to back this up with a really good book that's like, psych! It's like, you guys thought that was the ending. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Here's the truth.
Yeah. And it needs to be like, you know, just back to, you know, a nice, like, tight, solid plot and storyline and character development and, like, you know, and I think the good news is the next book is the ACOTAR book, and she's always been able to kind of do those in the
Bring the
right way,
magic
you know?
with that one,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, and, you know, even though, like, something in, like, Silver Flames, we wished, you know, I personally, like, wish there had been more of Reese and Feyre. When you think about it from a book perspective, like, she couldn't add them in. It wouldn't be the same story, it wouldn't work, you know, there'd be too much. So I hope the next ACOTAR book, right, it really does focus on a couple of different characters, and that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to be, I mean, how many different point of views were there? Like,
I
we
don't even
should
wanna
count.
think. I don't know.
I'm gonna count it really quick.
What?
You can keep talking and I'm gonna count. Or maybe
Well,
we just name them out. So we had Bryce,
Bryce.
we had Rune, we had
Mhm.
Lydia, we had Hunt, we had Ethan, we had
Darian.
Darian. Is that it? 6? I feel
I
like we're
don't
missing
know.
some.
Did we have I'm just trying to think, do we have anyone else? Did we have no, I think generally, like, when Hypaxia and that came in, it was always from Ethan's perspective.
It was Ethan's perspective. Yeah,
It was just
yeah.
Ethan and Darian was so slow in
So
comparison to
boring.
everyone
Yeah.
else.
Well, and then parts of Bryce, once Bryce got back to Crescent City World, a lot of her stuff was pretty boring too.
Yeah,
Being with
yeah.
the Autumn King and, you know, like, honestly, like,
As
the
you
ship
said,
stuff was not
the
that
pacing was
interesting.
just slow. It
Yeah.
just there were too many big lulls that didn't maybe give enough to the story when really there was so much story there. Like I kind of said, this book probably didn't really need to be 800 pages. It probably could have been 600 and
Mhm. I
probably would have
agree.
been a better book if it was 600 because we wouldn't
Mhm.
have had some of
Mhm.
those like she didn't need to be with the Autumn King for that long. She could have been with him for a day and pretty much had the same outcome. Why was she hanging around with him for like 3-4 days? What was the purpose of that? She knew
Right.
where Rune kept the key or whatever in his room. Like it wasn't really required. But
Yeah.
anyway, let's get into I want to talk about the next book and when we think it's going to get released. And some of the information we've been finding online, or more, I should say, the lack of information we have been finding online. We have
Yeah.
a lot of reasons to suggest that Sarah J. Maas and her team, her publishing team, Bloomsberry, are doing some sketchy stuff in the background.
Mhm.
I don't know what they're doing, but they are controlling the freaking internet right now. Because, Ali, do you want to talk about what you
Yes.
found when you were doing a bit of hunting just recently?
Yes. So for one of our Bryce and Azriel Mate podcast episodes, one of the things that I was researching was Sarah J. Maas interviews and, like, everything she said about mates and Bryce and Hunt and other mates. You know, I was just trying to find interviews, like what she said, because I do feel like a lot of the time there's a lot of, like, buzz on the internet and, like, people will, like, comment or make videos about, oh, SJM said this. But I wanted to be like,
You want the evidence.
I want, yeah, we bring evidence to this podcast. Yeah, you know, we talk about the vibes, but we bring evidence. So I was like, I want to find where she said these things. And it was really hard.
Yeah.
A lot of interviews that I know had been on the internet previously because I had watched them were gone. I could
Yeah.
not find them. A couple of them that, like, I could not find. I could not find the interview that she did in like September last year where she said that Hunt and Bryce were mates.
Yeah.
That full interview, gone. There aren't even clips. The only way I found clips was through Instagram, people who had like recorded it. It is,
Yeah.
you can't
You
find that
you
on the
can't
internet.
find
You
it.
can't even
And it
find
was
little tiny
crazy.
clips.
And we reached out to people who like research this all the time. It's literally their obsession and hobby. And we were like, where do you find these interviews? And they were like, oh, you just find it here. Wait, I'll go find it. And they were like, it's gone. They're like,
It's
it's
gone.
not here anymore. Where has it gone to? Why is it missing? A lot of the interviews are missing.
A lot of interviews are missing. Yeah, no, and so not just that one, but like a lot that were about ACOTAR, a lot that were about like just her like kind of what she wanted to do with the world. Like a lot of her stuff is gone. Now we could, right? Some explanation could be just that like she has a new marketing team that wants to be the ones that are releasing the information, right? This like direct to consumer type thing. You know, there could be a marketing strategy associated with this. But there could be.
That's not exciting.
That's not exciting. That's not exciting. It could be this intentional, scheme
Yeah, that
to
maybe
kick
they
stuff
don't want this
around.
information out there. Maybe it's giving too
Yeah.
much away, or maybe it wasn't all correct.
Right? Maybe
Maybe it
she
was
changed her mind about things, or they just, like she gave spoilers, and they want people to be a little less aware of
yeah, because
things.
let's also this was super funny, right, guys? But we were speaking to someone who is like an absolute Sarah J. Maas. Like they have studied her, and what I found out,
Yeah.
she's a really bad liar. Right? They were
Yeah.
showing the video of her talking about Tamlin when she had released ACOTAR, but she hadn't yet released a court of
Miss and
not a
Fury.
court of wind and ruin, a court of mist and fury. And she has so many tells when she's
Yeah.
lying.
Yeah.
So
She
she
does.
she like jingles her bracelets. She starts cracking jokes and she starts looking like to her left or her
She
right. I
plays
can't
with
remember
her
which way
hair a
it is.
little bit. She'll,
Yeah, she
like,
plays
do
with
her hair
her
like
hair.
this.
And then if you go to that Bryce Hunt interview, she does exactly the same thing. She starts cracking jokes, she starts playing with her hair, running her hands through her hair. She starts doing all her typical lying maneuvers. And it's really interesting. You'll have a lot of trouble finding these interviews now. They are not easy to find. You have to find someone that has saved them to share them with you. But this is a lot of the reason that they might be hiding a lot of these interviews. People are figuring them out and it might be giving too much away. So
Mhm.
we like to think that there is something very exciting coming and it's going to
Yeah.
twist everything we know from now. And they're trying to delete this so that even just so that they can't come back later on and say, oh, Sarah, you said this and then you didn't tell the truth. Like, which we should know because she said that Tamlin was awesome. And then, a
Yeah.
year later,
Yeah.
we found out that he was Tamlin.
Yeah, and she knew from the get-go that he wasn't gonna be, available.
Yes. Yes.
Um, you know what else is interesting? I've noticed Bloomsbury's been posting about ACOTAR a bunch, but,
Yeah.
like, there has been nothing on Crescent City. Sarah herself has posted very little. I mean, she's, like, posted, like, maybe twice since the week of the release. Bloomsbury has not been posting about it at all.
Yeah, well, all they
But
did was they did that, like, little spiel, which I shared with, like, kinda dreaming about what's coming next or something like that.
yeah. Yeah, and that's right, about what's coming next, not Crescent City. They haven't had like, "Oh, go buy it here," go and nothing, but they have been doing, like, silly memes about ACOTAR,
No.
you know? Like,
Mhm.
so, I don't know. I think you're onto something, Nicole. Do you wanna take this thought all
Well,
the way?
I literally guys, the timing could not have been better. One of the Instagrammers that she just messaged me this morning talking about something, and then she was like, "Oh, I was reading a spiel on Reddit, and they were doing a lot of research into when Sarah J. Maas has done previous book announcements. And the theory is that based on this information, they predict that her next book the announcement will be released at the end of this month. At the end of March 2024, they are predicting that we will get an announcement about her next book.
So by the time this episode comes out. We could already know.
We may already have it.
Yeah. That would be amazing. She used to publish 2 books a year, or at the very least, like, every 9 to 12 months. And she's really slowed down in recent years, and that's fine, right? I mean, that's fine, but, like,
She had the
you know
2-year break. Normally, she does 1 a year, and we know she was already into it in that September interview, if not earlier. I believe she would always undersell. If I was an author, I would undersell. I'd be like, "Oh, I'm drafting,"
Mhm.
and I'd actually be finalizing, so I wouldn't wanna oversell it. I
No, I
truly
found
believe.
an interview with her in 2022
Mhm.
where she had said I found an interview with her. It was, like, right after House of Sky and Breath came out, and she was doing publicity for House of Sky and Breath, and then they asked her, like, "What's next?" And she was like, "Well, I've already written the whole everything. I've already
Yeah.
written, House of Flame and Shadow." And in that interview, she said she had started on the next ACOTAR book
Yes.
as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Now we know that she ended up after that, she pulled that copy. She said it's not the right story, and she completely rewrote it in 5 weeks. Um, so she could have been drafting ACOTAR as early as 2022.
Yeah. I believe it's
I don't
already
know.
done. I believe it's done and it's sitting there and they are gonna I mean, I think I've already spoken about this. I think we're gonna get it this year. Worst case, January 25, sorry, 25. But I think it will be soon. They just can't leave us on this lurch. Was not a good ending. And you need to leave people somewhat satisfied, I feel.
Yeah.
We're not satisfied with the end of this book. It feels like it was an ending and it was just a shit ending. So I strongly hope that we are going to get an announcement, and if it says 2026 or something, I will freaking die. Honestly, it
I
better be.
doubt they would announce it that early.
Yeah, no,
So much can change. So, I feel like if we get an announcement, it will be for, like, 2024 or a early 2025 release
yeah,
date.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Look, I truly believe she was wrapping up Crescent City with this book. As not so great as we thought it was. She was like, I am finishing this book. I'm done with it. She has said how excited she is writing this next book. She is getting back into writing what she loves, writing the love stories, writing the epic romances, the epic story. I believe she is finally getting to the point of the story that she's really excited about. I don't blame her for not being super motivated to write the Crescent City books. Like, I would not have been motivated. No wonder it took her 2 years. It would probably have taken me 2 years as well. Like,
Yeah.
whereas
Yeah.
the next books, like she has said that she'll be like needing to go somewhere and she'll be like, just wait, I just want to write this chapter. I just
Need
want
to
to write
write
this
this down.
chapter.
Yeah.
She's falling in love, guys. She's falling in love. She is writing what she wants to write. I think I truly hope and believe that the next book is going to be amazing and it's not too far away.
I agree. I hope so too.
I'm hoping. We
Oh,
might be
we can only
delusional, but
hope.
hopefully. Yes. All right. Well, have you got any final thoughts or anything before we wrap up today?
No, I think that's it. I guess the only other thing, I do somewhat wonder if Bloomsberry is kind of also waiting for Red Tower Books to announce the next Fourth Wing book. Like, I wonder if they're sort of in this, like, yeah, like,
Tandem.
waiting
Yeah.
each other
We
out,
can't release on the
because you
same
want
day.
those
We need
2
to all.
books
Mhm.
they want the publishers wanna spread them out. And we don't have a date yet for Fourth Wing 3 or Empyrean 3.
Not that I
So
thought
I just
someone
I almost wonder if
said.
that's impacting it at all.
Yeah, I feel like I heard someone say the other day they thought it was October.
So I said that, and maybe somebody else said this to you, but I felt like I had remembered her saying we could expect it sometime in, like, the fall of 2024.
Yes.
That is what I feel like I remember her saying, or, like, definitely saying, like, it will definitely be in 2024 or something like that. But I also can't find that anywhere. So I don't know if I made that up or not.
We don't have an
Uh,
official date yet. We don't
yeah,
have an
we
official
don't we
date.
don't know official date. Yeah.
Yeah. But as soon as we know anything, we will be telling you guys. But no, I think
We'll
that's a
tell you
really
guys.
good call out that I do think that they will definitely be timing and they'll probably want to release them on different months. So it's just whether who has decided that they're going to go first. I would believe it would be Sarah J. Maas because she's probably already got hers sitting there. Whereas we know Rebecca Yarros has been writing. She has been writing the next book. So she's possibly just a little bit more behind in that than Sarah J. Maas would be. But we will just
Yeah.
have to wait and see.
We'll just have to see.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please feel free to comment, like, subscribe. We love to hear from you guys. What did you think of this
Yes.
episode? What did you think of spilling the tea of a bit more news and what's going on in this world? But look, as I say, we love to give this to you guys. We hope it's helpful. And if you have any thoughts, if you hear anything, please tell us because we want to keep you and everyone updated. Thank you so much for joining us today and have a great week. Bye.
Bye.